I'd like to talk with you this evening about being hungry. Somebody said, I'm hungry. It is something I like to share some ideas and thoughts with you. I'm not asking that you believe anything that I say. I'm not asking that you agree with me. I'm merely asking that you stand on and in the conversation that we'll share with you this evening. And if there's something that I say that can fit and work for you, I say use it. If not, discard it and let it be. Is that all right? Yeah. Say, that's fair enough. Very good. All right. One of the things I have realized, and many of us have, that if you want something out of life, if you want to change yourself, if you want to acquire something, if there's some goal that you want to reach, that is really not easy as some people will make us feel. That living your dream, changing your behaviors, overcoming negative habits, it's challenging. It's hard. That living alone is just very difficult. And once we begin to come to grips with the fact that living is difficult, life is very challenging. I heard a song once by a guy named Dimples called, If It Ain't One Thing, It's Another. I say to you, if it ain't one thing, it's 12 others. Always something. You will never ever have a problem-free moment in life. Somebody said, and I like this, that you either in a problem or just left one or headed toward one. Anybody found that to be so? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's always something. So how do we begin to nurture that hunger? What are the characteristics or the qualities of people that are hungry? What will it take for me to get some of the things that I want? And being hungry for those things. Number one, you've got to work on yourself. It's very important that you engage in an ongoing process to develop you. Spend more time on yourself than what you've been spending. It's very important. You owe that to yourself. I was reading a book by Og Mandino called The University of Success. Read one line, gave me a chill. I didn't have to read anything else in the book. He said, many of us never realize our greatness because we become sidetracked by secondary activity. We spread ourselves too thin, don't know how to say no. And we find ourselves doing all kinds of things and never ever have time to do those things that we need to do to work on ourselves. And then there goes a second, there goes another second, there goes another second, and we can't stop and hold time. And before you know it, you wake up one day and you're behind on your dreams and your bills. So decide that you're going to take some time to work on you, that you deserve that from yourself, that your life deserves some prime time because you are creating your own production. As Michael Todd would say, you are the star of your show. You are the director. You're writing the script. And you will determine whether your life is a smash office hit or flop. You determine that. Working on yourself, talking to yourself. That's so very important. Overcoming the negative conversation, that inner dialogue that's going on all the time, even when you don't want it to be there. You can't stop yourself right now from thinking. You can't do it. It's going on. And so learning how to empower yourself, part of doing that is standing up to yourself. You've got to stand up inside yourself sometimes and say, shut up. You've got to do this. I was going to give a presentation, and this voice inside of me saying, you can't do this. You don't have everything it takes. I shut up. I'm behind on my bills, and you're telling me what I can't do. I have got to do it. You'll get scared sometimes. Your mind will go blank on you. Some people you will allow to unnerve you, and you wonder, what's wrong with me? I'm not crazy. That's why you've got to learn to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to stand up inside yourself. Working on yourself, watching that inner dialogue, it will determine the quality of your life. I don't believe this. I know this. I've had a challenge of losing weight. I'm walking through the airport, this voice say, why don't you have some M&M peanuts? No! Well, just one. Then after you eat that, you might as well have a Snicker now, you sucker. I mean, it's challenging. My mother fixed the kind of sweet potato pie you can't eat with your shoes on. Have to take your shoes off so you can wiggle your toes. It sticks on my fingers. It says, eat it. One little bite won't hurt. That voice, constantly. Little demons from Colonel Sanders driving my car in there. I had to say, no. I'll diet tomorrow. I saw a skinny man get hit by a truck. Had he had a little bit more weight, he might have lived, you know. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you know that. That voice is awesome. So you have got to stand up to that voice. When you're working on something you want to achieve, you have got to stand up to that voice. You've got to sell yourself every day on your abilities, on what you're doing, on the goal that you want to reach. You've got to sell yourself every day, according to your level of belief. It will manifest itself in what you're doing. Whatever we have right now, whatever we're demonstrating in our lives, is a result of what we believe subconsciously that we deserve. And part of increasing that belief level is that you have got to convince yourself every day. You've got to sell yourself. I do a lot of training for many corporations, and I conduct sales seminars, and I've heard all kind of guys doing techniques and training people techniques of how to close sales and how to work with and begin to control the sale and how to ask for the close. Let me share something with you. You can learn all the techniques in the world. If you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen for you. I learned all of it. So that's why I do a training called Focus on the Seller. You've got to focus on you. And as you convince you, as you sell yourself every day, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. Selling yourself on your ability to perform a job, to achieve a certain objective. Telling yourself every day, here I go again. And I got what it takes. This is my day. And nothing out here is going to stop me. And when you go out there in life, say, come over here. Say it again. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. That brings me to the next thing. It takes courage to act. Part of being hungry when you've been defeated, it takes courage to start over again. I used to do door-to-door sales, and I was working with another friend of mine, and door-to-door sales, I mean, it's punishing. It's cruel and unusual punishment. And I was a little boy knocking on the door. Hello, would you like to buy a nice working television set? No money down? No! Bam! They slammed the door in your face. And the friend of mine that was working with me, they slammed the door in his face, and I looked back, and he was going to the car. He said, I can't do this. And he sat down in the car, and he said, you go ahead, I'll be here when you get back. Now, he had a mother and father to take care of him. My mother was ill. I am adopted. I was hungry. I had to go on. I learned something about myself. That when you step into your fears, somebody said, it was Winston Churchill, he said that courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. When you step into your fears and continue to push yourself to go on, something happens for you. It will enable you to transcend yourself. I went to the next door. You like to buy a nice working television? No! Bam! Went to the next one. No! Bam! After a while, I no longer took it personal. And I began to play a game. I said, well, I know there's a yes out here somewhere, and I'm going to keep on till I find it. And I'm not going home until I do. And I continued to knock on doors. And then somebody eventually would say yes. And I said, are you sure? And I would go in there and I would get the sale. When you have something you want to do, If you don't develop the courage to do that which has been given you to do, and you spend a lot of time going around trying to convince other people or trying to get their approval, what will happen is that you will lose your nerve. And other people will convince you that what you're doing doesn't have any value, and you'll give up on your dream. It's an interesting thing about life, I've also found, that if you don't have the courage to act, sometimes, and particularly, if you have something special to do, life will move on you. If it were not for life, I would still be a disc jockey. I didn't just leave voluntarily to go to the state legislature. I was fired. I was working on a job, and I came home one day. I was married at the time, and I told my former wife, I said, that guy Bert I work for is stupid. She said, if he's so stupid, why does he sign you a paycheck? Now you see why I divorced her, right? I couldn't stand her. That night, I could not sleep well. Here was a guy that was controlling my life. I was going through all kinds of changes because this man controlled my paycheck. And it was Carlyle who said, truth crushed to earth shall rise again. Winston Churchill said, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but at the end there it is. And we know scripture that says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And the truth that I had to come to grips with, that I wasn't in charge of my destiny. The truth was that I wasn't giving all that I had. The truth was that there are some things that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the courage to act on those things. And the truth was that Bert Childs was a blessing to me. He made life so miserable for me, I had to start looking at my life differently. I started going to work earlier. I started being the last one to leave there. I started working harder than anybody else. The other guys could not. Why would you work so hard, Les? I said, I'm not working for them. I have been cheating, Bert, I thought. I've been cheating myself and my family. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do it with everything that you have. Develop the habit of giving more than what you're paid for. Develop the habit of setting standards that others will be measured by. Someone said, do not go where the path may lead, but go where there's no path and leave a trail. All right? It is easy to be negative today. It is easy to have low morale today. I was at a corporation and they're going through downsizing and going to lay off some 1,500 people over the next few weeks. It's very depressing there. And those people that stay there 9 times out of 10, they're just going to do just enough to keep from.
Yeah, welcome to tonight's webinar. I sincerely believe that it's going to be a great time right here. And so tonight we'll be looking at financial health and mental health. The whole idea is to bring to our perspective the importance of our mental health. And so tonight we'll be looking at when it comes to our financial health. So we'll be having the financial expert join us in person of Benga Onifade is going to be joining us to look at that aspect of this particular webinar. He's going to be coming from the financial expert angle because he's a financial expert. And I will be here to talk about the mental health aspect. Now, whether you like it or not, the truth of the matter is the condition in which we are financially plays a role in our mental health. And so when you're unhappy, when you're unhappy because you are financially unstable, it has a way of affecting how you see life. It has a way of affecting how you're going to, how do I put it now? It's going to affect how you're going to do things. And so you find out that people find it difficult, all right, to actually live the way they want to live or live a happy life when they are not financially buoyant. And the reason is not far fetched, right? It's simply because we are not, how do I call it now? We are not at that point where we want to be financially. And so if you're not at that point financially, it begins to affect how you see yourself, what you think about yourself, what your thoughts are about life. You've heard stories of people who took their lives not because they hate their friends or their family members, but simply because they could not fathom how life was going for them. They couldn't imagine that they are going to be living life this way. And so every individual needs to realize that your mental health is not something that you can joke with. Excuse me. That your mental health is as important, right, as the money that you wake up every day and you go out to make. That money that you're chasing, you realize that you cannot afford to just, you know, play with your life anyhow. You cannot afford to just play with your mental health anyhow because at the end of the day, you realize that you don't want to have that money or have that high net worth, yet you have to spend all. You have to spend all in the hospital, right? You don't want to spend everything treating yourself for one ailment or the other. You don't spend everything uh, having to see a psychologist or a therapist just because you didn't pay attention to your mental health. And so we want to come to that point where we understand that it is not a thing of choice anymore. It's something that we all pay attention to. I've read a lot of articles that have talked about the role that mental health plays in financial health and the role that financial health plays in mental health. And I mean, third world countries, developing countries, all agree that whether we like it or not, we cannot rule out the role of mental health. Whether we like it or not, we cannot pretend and tell ourselves that mental health doesn't matter. We all know that it matters. And that's why we almost agree, all right, to some degree that whether we like it or not, these two things go hand in hand. So I'm going to be sharing with us 7 reasons, just 7 reasons. I'll begin with that. 7 reasons why uh, mental health issues, all right, tend to linger when there are financial crises. 7 reasons mental health issues and financial issues tend to go hand in hand, right? 7 reasons why mental health issues and financial issues tend to go hand in hand. And that's not because the cost of treatment is high. No, it has nothing to do with the cost of treatment, right? It's a whole lot of reasons beyond that. Okay, and in there, there's a whole lot of reasons beyond the financial aspect. So the first one is that when life feels out of control, so when you feel as though you're losing control over your mood and your thoughts, you're likely to begin to feel as though life is out of control too, especially your financial life. When you are getting unhappy, when you're not getting the vibe that you expect in terms of your finances, in terms of your health, right? It begins to tell on you, it begins to show on you, right, that you are not happy where you are. And what happens at the end of the day is that you begin to behave in a way that it even becomes shocking, even to those who are who know you, and they are surprised at your behavior, right? They are surprised at how you're responding to things. And that's to tell you that a lot of times our response, all right, our response in situations where we are financially not okay can be very far from our regular and normal responses. And that's why we need to understand that we cannot joke with it. So you may even lose hope about a brighter future, and then you ask yourself who wants to save for a big purchase or put money away for retirement when your life feels like it's spinning out of control. All right. So you might feel like one thing you can control is your ability to buy something right now. Okay. So I mean, poor mental health can take a toll on your financial health. So I am coming from the angle of your mental health on your financial health. And like I said, my other colleague who is going to join us later on okay, is around here. It's going to talk about the aspect of your financial health and why it matters. The next point is you get desperate for temporary relief. So when you're in pain, you'll do almost anything to get out of it, even if it's going to hurt. All right, you more in the long term. If it's going to hurt you more in the long term, you just want to get out of that at the moment. So this is called retail therapy, right? Retail therapy was invented in the sense that at that point in time, it is therapeutic to you or for you to buy that particular thing that you want to buy. Okay, it's therapeutic for you to buy that you want to buy because that is what you can afford at that point in time and you just want it. So buying something right now, whether it's a new pair of shoe or a car you can't afford, will give you momentary pleasure. All right. But at the end of the day, it's going to create financial distress for you. And that's why I'm so glad that my friend is here. I'm going to bring him on soon, Benga on Day of Wealth Hackers. He's going to be talking about your financial aspect, right? Now, so I've talked about when you get desperate for temporary relief. I've talked about that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is self-esteem plummet. Now, when you find yourself in that situation, your self-esteem goes low. Your self-esteem becomes low. So quite often the worst you feel is the worst you feel about yourself. And that can lead many people to try and overcompensate. People overcompensate themselves when they feel some level of low self-esteem. All right, low self-esteem can cause someone to buy expensive clothing, a name brand watch, or even a luxury car, just in an attempt to project an image of success. I have a popular saying that the poor is afraid of getting poorer. The rich is afraid of getting poor, so he wants to get richer. And so what happens at the end of the day is that both of them keep trying to maintain that status of becoming rich and not remaining poor or not remaining poor. Now, it's often said that it's easier to drop from up down, but difficult to climb from down up. So it's the same thing that happens. So if a rich man begins to go poor, he or she doesn't want to remain poor. And so in a bid to maintain that status and that level, the person tries to buy everything just to cover up. And the poor wants to at some point in time feel like, oh no, I cannot remain here, see my mate and all that. And so tries to buy things that even he or she may not afford. All right. So you find people doing that just because they want to show that they're of this level. The next one is that your energy levels will decrease. A decline in mental health often means poorer quality sleep, increased feelings of fatigue, and more trouble staying on task. Look, this issue of sleep cannot be overemphasized. You cannot undo sleep with levity. Sleep is important. Trust me. Sleep is very, very important. And so everybody needs to pay attention to sleep. And the moment your sleep begins to decline, the moment your sleep pattern begins to decline, there is trouble coming. Because what will happen at the end of the day is that your productivity is going to drop. And once your productivity drops, it begins to affect you at your place of work. So all those things make it much more difficult to think about paying off a debt, let alone even take action. All right. Then another one is you have unhealed wounds. And when you have unhealed wounds, they most likely will come back. So sometimes people have done certain things to you and you feel like you are forgiving them. In your mind, those things are over. Okay, but then you find yourself at that point where things are not conducive. You begin to remember, all this person did to me, what that person did to you. So when you are feeling down, your brain will recall all the other times when you felt similar feelings. And those just might be the lowest points in your life. So quite often, emotional wounds that never healed. Again, I repeat that emotional wounds that never healed, all right, get reopened as your mental health declines. And for many people, that leads to changes in financial habits. So you see people buying things anyhow, buying whatever it is that they can buy, even when they cannot afford those things. You don't want to have that kind of experience. You don't want to find yourself at that point where you're just buying things just because you want to cover up how you are feeling at that point in time. Instead, you want to buy. It's better that you buy things that you can afford and things that are really, really, really important at that point in time. So let me wrap up quickly here. The last point is it's tough to think clearly. We all know this, that it can be hard to think about the things that you even want to buy or your financial future when your mental health is on a decline. And so you're not able to make good decisions, you're not able to plan ahead, and you're not able to organize yourself properly. All right. So these seven things can create issues, can be the issues that you would experience when your mental health is in decline. And that's why you need to take steps. All right. You need to take steps to make your mental health better. You need to take steps and see to it that you pay attention to your mental health. And if you need help, you see to it that you actually take that help. I'm going to bring on my friend now. Hey, Mr. Benga, good to have you. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Felicia? Hi, thanks for having me, actually. Thank you.
Good, 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 good to see you. And thank God you're able to make it. You're a very busy person, so we understand your schedule. But hey, we're here to learn today. You are the financial expert. You are the one who knows all this. I've been talking about the mental health angle since. I know that at this point in time, some people are finding it difficult to actually put themselves
Hmm,
together, and some don't even know if they should invest or if they should not. All right, so I want you to help us right on this webinar today. Advise us. People go through difficult times. You're aware of the things that have happened in Nigeria over the
hmm,
couple of days. People have lost businesses. People have had bad
sure.
experiences, but yet people want to bounce back. People want to get themselves together. All right, and we are hopeful that at the end
I
of our
agree.
session today, we'll be able to find a headway about how to go. So I'm going to hand it over to you. Just do your thing. Over to you, sir.
Okay. So, of course, my name is Benga Onifade. I am the founder of Wealth Hackers. So, of course, thanks, Felicia, for having me here. And I shall be talking through on what's it called, on financial health and mental health, how connected they are. So one thing, I'm going to take it slowly, really, but if you want to have any questions, guys, just feel free to join us, and yes, we'll proceed as we go on. So one of the first things people do not realize is that money and mental health are connected. Okay, I'll try and keep it very short and simple, really. So money and mental health are very, 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 very much connected. So one thing you do not realize, I mean, of course, we all want to buy, we all want to, we all want to buy things. We all want, the best things in life, etc. I say to people that the best things in life are free. And as people do know, I do offer, of course, I do offer a training course on the markets, the equities market, stock markets. So one of the first things I do teach as a result of this is that I tend to focus more on the money management aspects. And one thing people tend to not to do that they tend to ignore is people tend to ignore the fact that you need to get your finances right first and foremost. But I'm going to quickly talk a little bit about me before I dive way into that. So yeah, my name is Benga Onifadi, as some of you have heard, and I live in the UK, in Kent, England, Lushy Green, Kent. Um, so I initially I trained as an engineer, And when I trained as an engineer, I realized, of course, money is very important, which many people should realize. Not many people think, when we were raised to think money is not everything. And of course, money is not everything. Money is just so money is there, money is good, but at the same time, money is not everything, and you're right. But one thing you need to do is do not break yourself while you are trying to find money. Don't break yourself while trying to find money. So of course, money is important, but at the same time, while doing that, so when I finished my first degree, I did another degree, and when I finished my degree of study, I got my first job, but it wasn't enough. And as I became a family man, I realized that the money was never enough for me. And at some point, I worked so hard, I almost broke my back. So that's when I realized, okay, now I need to start working on my mental health. So at some point, I was getting so much money, but I didn't find joy. So then I thought, there's some things that you just cannot trade at all, and that's your mental health. And how did I get into this? I thought there's some three things we do not talk a lot about in Nigeria. We don't talk about death, we don't talk about money, and we don't talk about mental health. And I thought, okay, I understand the money aspects, so I'm not going to be the one to keep talking about death. I'm not very morbid at all. But one thing I can talk about is money. Okay, while Tolusha is handling that area in finance aspect, sorry, in health. So I'm going to be talking about money. So me talking about money now. So, like I said, I realized one of the first thing people mistake is they do not. I think they discount the importance of your name. Where I was raised in Nigeria, we were told that a good name is better than gold and silver. Well, not many people realize what that statement means. It's very, very deep. So, if you're saying a good name is better than gold and silver, so a good name, for example, you're talking about a good name. A good name is you having your credit score very, very intact. If you have a good, abroad as well, your credit score is everything. You could be working the smallest or the lowest paying jobs. As long as you're able to keep your name well, you keep your records intact, wherever you live in a good, intact position, in terms of paying your bills on time, not just distressing yourself, getting loans, etc. So that's one. That's a really way to keep your name handy. That way, you could be able to get a loan for really great things, even for your business as well. So, good name is better than gold and silver. That's one thing we all need to realize and learn from. So, that's the first thing. So, number two, I did say money and mental health are very, very, very much connected. So, sometimes what I preach in the market, and I tell a lot of my mentees this, is that if you're not getting the results you want, uh, whether be it money, be it at work, be it in life generally, you do not have to blame anything else. For example, let's talk about the markets. If you're not getting the results you want, do not blame the markets. You've got to take responsibility. Take responsibility first and foremost. Once you're able to take responsibility, then you take action. Once you're able to take action, then you learn from it, and then you repeat. So that way you learn from yourself. And that's the only way, that's the best way, if at all, to get better in life. Okay. So that's one thing again. So another thing people tend to talk about, and people tend to look at motivational speakers as, but that's actually very important. Okay. Motivational speakers I think they've got a role in here. And what am I trying to say is you need to believe in yourself. So you need to have that belief, and it happens from that mental health. If you mental health angle, if you constantly feel that you're neglected, you're defeated, if you come to the market with a defeatist mentality, then of course you're going to leave being defeated as well. You're not going to leave with anything at all. So you do not need to have a defeat mentality. So you need to come to the market believing that you can, when I say you can walk on water, you can proverbially walk on water, and that's just the way you should be. So you need to believe in that as well. You need to have that strong faith in yourself. So when you're not getting the results you want, I do a lot of trading and investments. So when you don't get the results you want, I just think I look inward. I look at the market. Sometimes there's some trades when I was just learning, and I jump into that trade and it starts going down, and I realize no, this is not. I've not done it the right way. I need to start taking that personal responsibility, and I need to have that belief. So again, another thing is that we have so many rules guiding the way we look at money, guiding the way we look at the market, but poor rules are of no use unless you follow these rules. there's no use following. If you have rules and you cannot follow them, it's pointless, and it's always going to affect your mental health. If you fail to have rules and then you fail to follow them, then that's just wrong. Okay, some people fail to have rules. Some people have rules and they even fail to follow them, and that's really bad. So now moving on to mental health again, a poor mental health can make your earnings, even managing money, it's going to make it very difficult. Okay, so if you don't have a good mental health, then of course you're making money. Excuse me, you're managing money. It's going to be very poor because you don't know how to deal with yourself as much as you should. Okay, and again, also, if you worry about money, yeah, it can make your mental health worse. Okay, if you start, you're just gonna start feeling like it's gonna feel like a vicious cycle. So if you're always worrying about money, there's time to put, people want to put something down, and you think, I cannot afford it, or you feel your friends have something that you do not have, and you think you need it, and you start worrying about it, then of course it's just gonna affect your mental health. And mental health is one of those areas that's extremely special. Okay, we don't talk about it enough, but of course we need to be talking about it more. Okay, speaking of mental health again, poor mental health. I mean, literally, what does it mean? I'm not going to define it in the medical angle, but poor mental health means managing money is harder. Okay, and worrying about money makes people's mental health worse, which I've just talked about. So when you have a poor mental health, it just makes managing money very hard. So there are quite a few tips, that you need to understand in helping yourself get some help. But we're going to talk about that later. Okay. Again, you've got to think about what aspects of, in terms of you dealing with money that you need help with. So number one, could it be attending appointments? Sometimes it could be you opening envelopes. It could be confrontational, or maybe you just don't understand. But then, in that note, in that regards, then you just need to seek help. If there's something you think you need to understand and you do not understand, I'm sorry, but you need to seek help. I tell people that best things in life are not things. We used to sing a song, "Best things in life are free." I'm not going to sing a song right here, but we used to sing a song, "The best things in life are free." But I always say again, the best things in life are not things. So, number one, you got to stop seeing money as God. Money is very important, but you've got to stop seeing money as God. Okay, but there's so many ways. And number two, you've got to be able to manage money very well. Okay, and there's so many ways, like I said, that it could affect each other. If you do not have this money, it just triggers feeling of anxiety and panic. Like you want to keep calling your bank asking for unnecessary things. In the UK, for example, there's what we have here, which is the benefit system. And I'm not saying it's their fault for being there, people who've been involved. People there are not as fortunate, unfortunately, because of the way society is. But of course, it could lead to depression, because I see people there, the kind of treatments people give, the kind of eye looks that people give them. It's not one I would wish on a friend or on an enemy, for that matter. So another thing is that, if you have a very poor mental health, what does it do to you? This is part of the causal effects. It will just make, it would affect your income in a negative way. There are times whereby I tend to the times where I tend to go to work when I was working during my 9 to 5. But if I go to work, with a poor feeling, all of a sudden I don't feel good about myself. I don't feel good at all, because I'm going to talk about the processes I go through when I'm going through, when I'm entering, when I want to enter the market in the morning. So first and foremost is I just make sure my head is clear, okay? Because if you have a mental health problem, it would affect you from insurance, from, you just start paying more. If you think about it, even on the health side, you will end up paying more, okay? So you've got to make sure that money angle is very important, but it's in tandem with the financial health, with the mental health. One thing that's very, very important is someone's just saying, me talking about when I want to enter the market, the food we put into our body is very, very important, and that affects everything. The people talk about the strongest muscle, which is our soul, our hearts. And you might think, I'm not talking about your muscle here. It's not about your six pack. No, that is actually the strongest muscle. This leads to things that you cannot see. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the niggling things about what the specifics of food, because there's some people who can do a better job than me over there. But from the very things you can put in your body, they do affect you. There are times, I mean, anyone who's been in the markets will realize, I understand that the past 3 weeks the market's been a bit sideways. Okay, and now that the market's been a bit sideways, what's happening? There are times where I want to trade and I look into there. If I look very well, if I don't see, I just get out. I tell people there used to be a time I look into the market. What do I say? For a good 30 minutes before I find what I want to find. But now I could look into the market charts, read the charts, look at the finance balance sheet, etc. And within 10 minutes, I make up my mind. But sometimes, if you have a very poor mental health, it's going to affect your judgment. And what do I mean by that? You could literally study a stock, which I tend to do. Okay, if you study a stock, and what's that going to do to you? You will find what you do not find, and you're going to start making poor judgments. Okay, you will start making poor judgment. In a way, it does affect you as well, and that's one of the things we do not talk about a lot in as blacks actually. And I've read so many articles as to how we black people we don't pay attention to mental health. Okay, so what am I saying is that it's going to affect your sense of judgment, even your sense of reasoning as well. So you need to always pay attention to these things. Very, very important. Again, when we're talking about mental health as well, so it comes with managing money, it comes with managing your life, it comes with managing self. Okay, again, now there's other things where I'm going to talk about how I'm going to give you examples of how they affect each other. So we talk about anxiety, we talk about creating panic in you as well. And there's so many other ways that in philosophy they say everything affects everything else. Okay, so nothing stands alone. You need to understand that mental, if you do not pay attention to this mental health, you're not going to be able to function in the market regardless, no matter how you think about it. And there's so many methods, and it's actually funny actually, when I tell people what are the ways to succeeding in this market. You don't need you don't have, the best accountants do not succeed at all. That's it's just a very little of them that succeed. The best people who succeed in the market are the guys with the best psychology. Okay, so if mental health affects your ability to work, it's going to affect your income. If you do not have a good psychology system, for example, I mean, I look at some people, and I've had a few people who tell me, "Oh, I just can't wait for the market to open. I can't wait." And I'm thinking, how boring is your life? That's all you do with your life? No, you're wrong. You're wrong if you just can't wait for the market to open. You mean without this market, you don't do anything else with your life? So if you look, if that's all you do, just trading and investing, and I'm not saying that's bad, but if that's all you do, then you're doing it wrong. You've got to be able to live for other things, not just market. Not just the market. You've got to be able to live for other things. So again, speaking of the mental health. So if what am I saying? So okay, I'm gonna be giving you tips on how to conquer these things as well. Okay, but when I'm teaching people most of the time, I teach 5% of what I teach is actually the stock market, and 95% is how to handle the market. Okay, even though I tell people that, for example, I'm about 95% fundamental, but one thing people do not realize in the market is that um, people need to keep things very simple. You've got to be able to keep things very simple. The minute you keep it complicated, you're just not going to make it right at all. You're going to make it wrong, and that's not the way to conquer and succeed in this market. So you've got to be able to keep things very simple. If you keep it simple, there's less strains on yourself. If you think about the market, for example, the financial market is one of the hardest places to be. It's one of the hardest places to be. You've got to learn the fundamentals. You've got to learn the technicals. You've got to learn the charts. You've got to learn so many, what's it called? Formulas, some ratios, some algorithm. You've got to learn the politics of the game, the demand and supply, how the market works. You've got to learn the news. So there's just so much. But at the same time, what do I tell people? Don't turn your head into a filing cabinet. So one of the things I tend to do is, you can see this is my journal right here. I write things down. And most of the time people tell me, how do you do it? How do you know all these things? Yes, I've been investing for a long time, been in the market for quite a while, but what's the best way to do it? I tell people, don't turn your head into a filing cabinet. Write things down. one of the ways to conquer these things, for example, if you have a trade, how did the trade go? Write it down. And why do you need to write it down? So you can learn from it. Okay. So be able to learn from it, you'll be able to focus. So, for example, if you think you had a really good day, and normally at the start of the year, I write my goals down and I follow and I stick to this goal. Okay, I write my goals down in my journal and I stick by them. And the same way when it comes to trading on the markets or even investing. So I write down my investment goals, what I want to get from this market. And at the end of the day, I go through them, I review, okay, how did it go? How did it go? How did I perform? Did I perform to expectation? And a lot of people do have journals. I know I've actually been preaching journaling to, which we don't do a lot. It's quite funny actually that when we're younger, as Africans, we all have diaries as as youngins. But as we grow older, we don't stick to this diary anymore, diarizing. So we need to diarize, be able to write down how you're feeling, how the market works, okay? And you go back there so you can learn from it. And what do I say? The four reasons, four things that I look for when I'm trying to get money. And I tell people, okay, I talk about the truth. Number one, I talk about the hope, I talk about the help, and I talk about the next steps. So let me just break it down quickly because of our time and because of what's going on here. I don't want you guys to stick in here, and I don't want to keep this to be I don't want to make this a boring session. So number one, I talk about the truth. Um, Money is not as hard to get if you know the ropes. Okay, the minute you understand that, your mental health is in a good place. One of the first things I told people is that this morning I was talking to a few guys, and I said, "Oh, do you think it's easy to multiply your income by 10?" And somebody said, "Oh no." Somebody said yes. So I told them that the difference between the people who say no and the people who say yes is that they're both right. And that's one thing that you need to be able to feed your head. So talk about the four ways to get money in this, when you're looking for money, four things to consider. You need to consider the truth, you need to consider the hope, you need to consider the help, you need to talk about the next step. So the truth is, tell yourself, understand, and just, of course, you got to be positive to yourself. Understand that money is not as difficult to get. You just need to follow a few key simple strategies and stick by them all the time. So that's number one. Number two, help. Oh, sorry, hope. You've got to have that hope, that feeling that, okay, whatever efforts you put into the markets, it's going to yield something. It's going to yield fruit. It's going to be successful. It's going to be, you're going to get something out of this. So you need to have that hope. You need to have that belief system, and you need to have the right people around you, surrounding you, support system. That's what I call hope, really. Okay, we go to sleep, we go to bed, not knowing what's going to happen the next day. So we go to bed based on hope, and that's the same thing about the market. So you need to have that hope. Okay. Now, number three is help. When you struggle, speak up. Very, very important. I do, we talk about the wealth hackers. I always encourage people because I know some people haven't got money to pay for this course. You've got to always speak up, guys. Don't just rely on yourself. Speak up when you're in trouble, when you think you're struggling. And number four, next steps. So now if you make all this money, what are you going to do with it? You're not going to take it to heaven, even if they bury you with a golden casket. So what? So what are you going to do with it? So number one, again, I've talked about it. Truth. Tell yourself the truth. That making money is easy, but it could be hard if you do not follow the steps. Just understand that you need to grind hard. Which is, so when I talk about the truth, sometimes I write it in brackets. Facts. Tell yourself the facts. So number two, you need to understand hope. Okay. Number three, you need to understand you need, hope is you hope is going to be good. Number three is help. When you need help, listen, grown men cry, grown men cry. I do cry, okay? I'm a man. There's nothing like, toxic masculinity that we all fall for. No, forget that. We all do cry. So you need help, ask for it. And finally, next step. So now I've got all this money. What am I going to do with it? Of course, maybe you're probably just going to help. You're probably going to have to help other people and you bring them up as well. Okay, what are you going to do with it? And those are the four things I think about when I want to get money. Okay, but that's just for me. So mindset is a very good thing. Okay, if you want to become a seven figure trader or an investor, mindset is the most important thing. Okay, most of us want to make it, we find it's beyond the realm of impossibility. So instead of going from, so one of the things people come to me when it comes to the market, when it comes to investing, it's quite funny when they want to invest. So they just go from they ask me, so Benga, if I put £100 down or $100, when am I going to be able to get $1,000? And I'm like, no, 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 you're asking the wrong question. Okay, so number one, first thing is people, I tell people first, you need to try to focus on losing less money. Okay, that way, so your head is that you know that when you're in the market as a trader, you will lose money. So just focus on losing less money, and the less you lose, the better for you. Okay, so that's number one. So you want to focus. So, most people want to make it beyond the realm of impossibility, but you've got to be realistic with yourself. So you need to think, okay, I want to focus on losing less money. And that's what you want to focus on. Okay, then number two, you want to focus on breaking even, which is called trading flat. Okay, I want to break even, I want to trade flat. Then number three, now you want to start thinking, okay, let me start making incremental money, maybe $100. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, just $100 a time. Okay, so gradual money that you want to make. And finally, so you start thinking incremental steps. I'm going to make more. I'm going to make more. Okay, so I'm going to talk a lot more about mindset in a minute. But also, when you do very well, okay, you've got to give yourself some little rewards. Reward yourself. Talk to yourself. Okay, I tell people the hardest project you're going to work on is you. Okay, when I tell people, for example, and I tell them how, what's your biggest asset? And some of them tell me Apple. No, 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 that's not your biggest asset. The biggest asset is you, and that's what you're going to work on. And the biggest thing you need to work on is not your job, it's that right there. Work on your mindset, work on your mental health. It's very important. Your brain is at the core of your success. So you got to reward yourself, work in that incremental steps. Okay, it's very dangerous when you make money on a very bad trade. So some of you are gambling, okay? And if you're making money on a bad trade, don't think, oh yeah, I know how to do this. It's very easy. No, 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 okay? So you need to have a plan, okay? And that way, in this life, when you were younger, your parents had a plan for you. They had a plan for you, going to secondary school, to university, etc. So have a plan for yourself, have a plan for your day, which is why you have a journal, okay? And then how do you proceed when you have a bad run? Have that plan as well. Oh, when things are not going well, what am I going to do? Because success is perishable if you think about it. Success can get into your head. Don't let it get into your head at all. And that's how you maintain focus in this market. Just reward yourself with a little bit of something and just keep going. Okay. So some of you would say, why am I in the market? Of course, some of you say, I'm in the market to make money. Of course. Otherwise, just go do something else. So you are in the market to make money. And I agree and I understand and I respect that you're in the market to make money. So one thing you need to also understand is that even though you're in the market to make money, what do you actually look at in this market? One thing that's very important is you judge yourself by your profits and loss. No, no. Do not judge yourself based on profits and loss. Turn it off, guys. Turn it off. And you might think, really? I should turn off my profits and loss and I'm here to make money? Yes, turn it off. Okay. Once you're able to bury that profits and loss, you don't look at it at all, just focus on winning every day. Winning every day. It's like when you're working, don't think about, I want to make 5,000 naira every day in Nigeria or 10,000 naira or a million naira every day. Just go on about how to win. You need to first become the best of yourself before you can win in the market. Okay. Once that's perished, then you will be in a really good state. Okay. I mean, personally, I've always looked at myself and I've always prided myself in my abilities. Okay. And of course, I'm trying to learn. And these two abilities I pride myself in, the abilities to climb out of holes when things are really bad, and the ability to maintain my calm when things are really good. Those two things, I don't let them get into. So I don't never let success get into my head. And even when it comes to failure, I never let failure ruin me. Okay. So I always do the right thing by myself, by my edge. And when I get it right, the outcome, sometimes the outcome doesn't really affect me much at all, most of the time actually. So even if it falls down, I'm not moved. And even if it goes very well, I'll reward myself incrementally. I mean, I've got two girls to look up to, and I've got a wife to look up to. So why should I let this thing that has no life control me? So that's one thing you've got to see. You've got to stop seeing money as something that will control you. Otherwise, it's just going to mess with your head really, really, really bad. Okay. So if you pride yourself on your accounts, for example, I keep saying turn off your profits and loss. If you pride yourself on your accounts, it would affect you really bad, and you would not be able to control how you trade it, because you're going to see this red going down. Oh God, it's going to get into you. You're an emotional human being. Okay. So don't get annoyed when you lose the money. Just stay focused. Okay. Because just understand that my name is Benga, and I'm still the person that got into this trade. Okay. So most people are not successful because they do not have the time and commitment to be successful. And at the same time, when I'm talking about the time for the head, you've got to worry about, if you think about your previous night, for example, how did your night end? How did your night end? So if your night ended in a bad way, okay, the first thing you want to see is not the market. Take a walk. Take a walk. Get into the woods. If you're not woods, get your baby. That's the time you want to run around with a baby. That's the time you want to do something else with a baby. Do something else. Very important. So that means that way you've buried that the previous bad nights that you had. For example, let's just say you write it down. If you write it down and you do not learn from it, what you're gonna take away from it? No, it's still there. It's still there. Or let's say you had a bad night and then the next day you had a sleep off and you come back. It's still inside of you. Channel it down through your hand, okay? Write it down. From your pen, get it to your papers. So once you write it down, the next morning, have a walk, have a chat, learn about it, and one of the things I say is not very common with Nigerians. We need to practice meditation. Okay, we don't practice meditation enough. Sometimes the first thing I do is not on myself. I spend the first 10 minutes just alone talking to myself. I'm staring blank, but my mind's wandered all the way, and so I am actually meditating. I say something to myself and you wouldn't believe it. And I say, Benga, you are capable of doing something bad to yourself. You are capable of doing a damage to yourself. I wake up with that mindset that, Benga, you are capable of doing a lot of damage to yourself. Once I believe that, everything is over. So now that I know I can do that, how am I going to control that? Okay, I know it's with me. The power of success is within me, and the power of failure is within me. So I say that to myself. Okay. So another thing is, one thing I've learned as well. There should not be one thing that will take you out of your game in this game. In this, as it applies in life, it applies in the markets as well. Okay. So there should not be one thing that will take you out of your game, because you have to understand that things would happen all the time. Okay, when you talk about the stocks, they go up, and what do? They go back down. They will go up and they will go back down. So take a back step, take a walk. Just go get a massage or something. You got to make adjustments yourself. If this thing tricks you, why did it trick you? Somebody called me a few hours ago, said, "Oh, I sounded condescending talking to him," and I said, "Wow, I've never thought anybody looked at me as as a condescending individual." So because I understand that everything I do is all about making adjustments. So I went through that situation again. I reviewed it, and I thought, "Oh, how did I talk to you?" Okay, and that's why I thought, okay, next time I'm gonna look at the way I addressed you, so that next time everything is good. I'm gonna watch that way. I'm gonna make adjustment. Life is all about making adjustment. So you got to make adjustments yourself. Even your space, the space where where you're trading. Okay, sometimes maybe because it could be internal or it could be external. Okay, internal, because sometimes the anger could just be internal, and which would cause you to be failing. Okay, so it could be internal or it could be external. If it's internal, of course, like I said, I'm not a professional, but one of the things I'm going to talk about is the things you put in your system, even the movies you watch, the people you work with, the music you listen to. Okay, so always look into that, and then look at the external as well, which I'll be running up in a few minutes, just in case. So the external, again, always think about that. The external are the people, yes. So the people around you, your surroundings, okay? So those are the people. We have to understand that these things, external, they affect what's internal. A few minutes ago, I said everything affects everything else. Like I say in philosophy, nothing stands alone. So you've got to watch out for those things. So how do you conquer some of these fears, some of these failures, how do you defeat them? Okay, how do you give yourself a conscious mind? Because one of the things I've learned is that the path of knowledge, it starts at unconscious incompetence. Okay, so once you're competent in dealing with yourself, then conscious incompetence, and then conscious competence, and then lastly unconscious competence. Okay, let me start again. This is something I read in a book. So the path of knowledge starts at unconscious incompetence, when you don't know that you don't know anything. Then conscious incompetence, which means now you know that you don't know anything. Okay, from not knowing that you do not know anything, now that you know that you do not know anything. Then conscious competence, now that you know something. And finally, unconscious competence. Okay, then you know everything, but you did not know that you didn't. Okay, so it's kind of like a tricky one. So you've got to understand that. Okay, whenever you get into the market, no, I don't know anything. I want to learn. I want to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. Okay, and that way, no matter what the market is doing, I'm not going to let it move me at all. Sometimes you have to understand that this market is there to take money from you guys. So do not be the one. And if it's not a good day, believe me, as long as you stick to your strategy, it's the same for everybody. If it's not a good day, just understand that I'm not the only one that's not having that good day. Don't get worked up. Don't start screaming at people or throwing things because of that. Please, it's very, very important. Okay, so I've talked about journaling, which you learn from your mistakes. You have to understand that you have losses in this market. These losses are there for a reason. It's because you want to learn, you want to be a better person as a result of that. And the same way it affects you in life. So there are times you lose and you just smile. Right? Well, you have to understand it happens. Don't let anything throw you away from your game. There are times whereby a good 3 months, actually, when I was doing this, I was not making a dime. I kept throwing money at it, and I just thought, okay, this is time when I have to sit back and readjust. What am I doing wrong? Okay, and I did not let it affect me. I think there was a time once it affected me, and I screamed at my child. But then I thought, actually, it's not her fault. It's me. Okay, so you need to work more on yourself than you work, externally on other things. Again, you've got to learn to add. So I'm going to talk about the A, B, C, D quickly, and before I round it up. So number one, you need to be able to adapt, understand the market's constantly changing. So if you're losing money, it's not your fault. Maybe sometimes you might just need to upgrade your learning. The market is constantly changing. Okay, there's going to be changes in the trends, in the patterns, in the volatility, in the edges, but you have to understand these changes don't last forever. You are the same person that got all these wins. So you're going to be the same person that's going to get more. Okay, so that's A. Number two, the things you've got to be able to build on them, build on your strength. Okay, what are the strengths that got you there? Okay, you've got to be somebody, man. You've got to be somebody. So you are somebody for you to be able to get to where you are right now. So you've got to be able to keep building on your strength. Okay, understand that all successful investors, traders, they have different strengths. Personality, it could be cognitive strengths, it could be personality, and they are strong in certain areas. So know your areas of strength. If you think you are strong, in the certain areas, focus on that and build that up. The market's got about 11 sectors. You cannot be strong in all areas. If you have a certain area you're strong in, focus on that and don't let anything throw you off your game. So that's the A, B. Number C, well, C is cultivate creativity. Okay, see the world through fresh eyes. Don't just have the markets alone. Be creative. Okay, have different stories around you. Where when you start to work, just focus on work. I mean, it's difficult enough as it is, but you can make it easy on yourself. Cultivate creativity. After the market, have a time where you just shut it off and just go do something else. Take a walk. If there's something you do that always gives you joy, always focus on it. And number 4 or D, deal with best practices. If there's something that you know that work, please try and focus on it and make it perfect or perfect. So A, adapt to a changing market. B, always build on strength. C, cultivate creativity. And D, deal with best practices. Okay. So so that's another way to win in the markets. So speaking of the profits and loss, this one of the things it causes is what they call the performance anxiety. So more people are concerned about the outcome and it affects your performance, but you should not be concerned too much about these outcomes at all for you. Because, I mean, if you think about it, 2020, let me just tell you what's happened so far. We've had a global pandemic. The government's we've had a lockdown. the world over. In fact, UK wants to have another lockdown. I think they're talking about it today. We've had a liquidity crisis. Jesus. We have record unemployment rates in so many countries. The price of oil went negative. It went negative. Literally, they pay you to keep oil. Okay, so Nigeria as a oil exporting company, we have to pay people to keep our oil. It's crazy. Okay, the largest, the company, the Americans actually giving out money, giving out free money. Where have you ever heard of government giving out free money to people? Okay, the fastest, the assets recovered very fast and it's just got down again. There's been civil unrest as we've experienced in Nigeria. Even the Black Lives Matters happened in the UK, happened in America as well. What happened? Technology, everyone's now adopting technology, which we didn't really think about as much. Again, there's a global travel, hospitality, and entertainment. They've halted. So 2020 has seen a lot. And like I said, do not let one thing throw you off your game because if it does, you're going to suffer for it ultimately. Okay. So one of the things is when it comes to mindset, you need to also, you need to have we need to focus on two things. Because I said I was going to talk about mindset. There's what they call the growth mindset, and there's what they call the fixed mindset. Okay. So speaking of the fixed mindset, let me just see. My host is still here. How many more minutes do I have, just in case? Okay, I can carry on, I guess. Okay, so when we talk about the mindset, which I think is very important,
You have like 10 minutes. Is that fine?
about 10 more minutes, right?
Is 10 minutes for you? Is that fine?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I'm rounding up just to make sure. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so speaking of the mindset, for example, so there's a growth mindset and there's a fixed mindset, okay? You need to work on your mindset. Now, what is a fixed mindset? There's a book I read by Carol Dweck called Mindset. It's actually very good for traders, especially guys in the market. Um, so she talked about fixed mindset. What is a fixed mindset? Fixed mindset is you think you know something and you're not willing to learn. That would affect your mental health, okay? Because one thing that 2020 has taught us, for example, is that we have to question everything. You have to question what we know. So that's a fixed mindset. But so do not enter the world or enter the market with a fixed mindset, thinking this is what I know and I'm not going to learn anything new. But then there's the growth mindset. What's the growth mindset? The growth mindset are people who believe they know something or who believe they do not know anything, but they are open to learn or to learning. And those guys are willing to learn incrementally, gradually. So don't enter the market thinking, boom, I'm going to make £1 billion today, $1 billion today. No, no, no. Today, I just want to make sure I come in better than I leave. That's all. That's all you need to focus on. Remember, I did talk about turning off the profit and loss. Don't worry about that. You just want to become a better version of who you were yesterday. And that's the difference between a growth and a fixed mindset. So, one thing is you have to understand that it's not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know to be true that is not true. I'm going to repeat that. It is not what you know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know to be true that simply isn't. That's what gets you in trouble. So these are some of the lies that people tell themselves, okay? So, when it comes to the market, and if you want to keep your mindset stable, one of the things I tell people, psychology is a very important thing that we need to learn. Okay. So there's a mindset, there's a few things that made me successful in this game is mindsets, business growth. I understand. I learned business and I learned psychology. Extremely important. In fact, psychology is actually at the head. And if you think about it, it's 50-50. I learned to master myself, mindset. I learned to understand human psychology. I learned to understand the business growth because I'm dealing with business. And I learned to understand the business itself. So, okay, so a lot of us say, oh, we don't want to learn anything. We just want to go on YouTube. And there's nothing wrong with going on YouTube, but you've got to be able to learn other things to be able to, you've got to be able to learn yourself. Okay, read as many books as you can. Okay, if I tell you a few facts about the markets, for example, well, in America, guess how many traders we have? We have about 40 million independent traders like myself in America. And let me give you a very, stark statistics. 92% of these people lose money. Only 5% break even. And guess how many people can even afford to pay their cost of living. Only two. But how many people become millionaires from this? One. Okay, so what do we say? Attention is information's currency. That's one thing. Attention is information currency. So you get as much information and pay attention to them. Whatever. So speaking of one of the things that affects what comes into you, there's some things that you don't need. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Don't let them bother you. While there's some things that you need, those are the ones you want to focus on and you want to feed them. Okay, it's like when I tell people about motivation, for example, we all need to be motivated, okay? But at the same time, you need, for example, I say I take orders depending on who he's from, okay? Because if somebody's an idiot, for example, and you motivate that person, he's just going to become a motivated idiot. And what's he going to do? If he was a killer, he's going to go and kill again, okay? So again, so if you're not getting the returns you desire, don't blame anybody, blame yourself. You need to have rules. So I'm just doing a recap now. You need to have rules and follow these rules, okay? So your mind has an infinite capacity to rationalize, okay? If you are losing, you're always going to come with 1,001 ways why you should keep doing that thing you're doing. And what's that going to do? It's going to affect your mental health, okay? So learn to be able to say no sometimes to the market, learn to be able to just shut things down and move away from it. Okay, make sure you work on what you eat, especially what you eat, what you listen to, the people you hang around with. If you have a really good support system, build strength, good relationship with them. Okay, because this poor mental health, it could affect your earnings and it could make managing your money make it very harder. Okay, so understand your money and your mood patterns. Look at your mood, okay? Organize your finances. Do not overspend, especially when you're not feeling well. I heard the doctor talking about earlier on, people talking about retail therapy. No, no, no. The minute you're doing that, you're wrong, okay? You are not doing it right way, okay? And feel free to share your emotions. Look after your well-being, physical well-being, mental well-being. Guys, take a walk. If you cannot run, take a walk, exercise a little bit. Find people who have been doing very well in this area. They will help you. Organize your finance, organize your life. Okay, understand your money and your mood patterns. Work out a habit. Give yourself a habit that suits you. Work out your thought patterns, your process around money. Make sure it's in a really good place before you even touch money at all. It would help you think about things the right way. Okay, and even when you spend and when you save money, always think about them. Why did you spend? Why did you save? Given another chance, are you going to repeat that thing again? Okay, so think about what aspects of dealing with money makes your health worse. So while you're thinking about the good thing, always think about the worst thing or the bad things as well. So what areas do you spend or of your life do you think, I need to work on this? So there's certain areas that you think you deal with money and it just makes your thinking worse or your health worse. It's going to affect you, and of course it's going to leave you with a grave consequence. So this is where you are. This is the only life you have, and you want to make sure you deal with it the right way. Okay, so when you understand more about what's happening in your life, you can think about what ways you can help. Sometimes just being aware of this thing, it could make you in control. Remember, I go to the market saying, Benga, you are able to do a damage to yourself, okay? And make sure that what's outside doesn't control me, because they can trigger feelings of anxiety and panic, and I don't want to do that, okay? I don't want to do it. I want to be in control. And as a result of that, I hope this has been of a good help to you guys. So, guys, to be successful, first and foremost, you need to work on self. Otherwise, you'll be wasting your time. Thanks a lot, Toulouse. Thank you for having me.
Wow, that has been some massive share there. I mean, you gave it to us deeply. Thank you very very much, Mr. Benga. So how can people engage with you? I know that people who are watching and those who will watch after now will probably want to contact you,
Sure.
and so how can they reach out to you?
The easiest way now is I've got the community there, which is the Wealth Hackers on Telegram. You will find me on Twitter, Wealth Hacker, which is Wealth Hacker with just one H in the middle. On Twitter, you'll find me on Instagram as well, The Wealth Hackers, and Telegram. Yeah, so that's fine. And you could find me on the website as well, www.thewealthhackers.com, 2H in the middle, www.thewealthhackers.com. So Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys. It's been nice having you here. I believe strongly that even those who would watch this after now would still glean a lot, and they will come looking for you definitely. I'm going to put further information in the description of the video because expect that people would rush the wealth account. It's been great doing this with you. Thank you so very much. I mean, right now, I myself, I know that when I wake up any time of the day, I should not just rush to check Bamboo or check T212. All I need is check my state of mind and be sure that I am in the right frame of mind before I even think of going to the market and all that. And I believe that this video is going to help even those who go to the market physically. The link is available for anyone to share, and they can subsequently watch this, even the wealth from the Wealth Hackers community and the Rising Heroes community. So thank you very much, Mr. Gbenga. How is the UK today? I know that you guys are
Ah.
experiencing some.
So the new lockdown has actually been released. Well, we've been told there's going to be another lockdown for 4 weeks, and they want to be very strict on this so that people are able to enjoy the Christmas with the families. So yeah, it will start, I think, from tomorrow actually for the whole of November for 4 weeks. Yes.
I wish you
2020 has
well.
actually been it's just been a year to forget or to remember, if you can say. Yeah, amazing
It's
year,
all
but we're
good.
so grateful.
We can only, yeah. By the time the year wraps up, we'll be able to count our blessings and be grateful. The most important thing is there is life, and the fact that
Oh,
we are alive
absolutely.
means that we can still do whatever it is that we can do, and 2021 will be better. So thank you very much.
Sure.
Do have a
Thank
lovely, a
you.
lovely weekend and a great week ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. So that was Mr. Benga Onifade of the Wealth Hackers community joining us here tonight. So, guys, I'm excited to have done this today. Trust me, this is just the beginning of the things that we'll be doing right here. More training to come your way. And I just want you to know that you can't afford to miss them. So, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and watch videos here. A whole lot of videos on this channel for you. So, till I come your way again, it's been a pleasure doing this with you. Bye for now.